The St. Petersburg artist and engraver Vladimir Nuzhdin, whose artistic journey began with tin soldiers, almost inevitably took an interest in military reenactments, particularly in view of the artist's energetic temperament. Reconstructions in Russia involve a huge number of people of different ages and specialties. They include students and teachers of higher education institutions and businessmen. Stepan Rashupkin, the director of a stone-cutting enterprise, several times a year becomes an officer in Napoleon's artillery. I've actually known him my entire life. As soon as he came into my life, he immediately filled it. But not just mine, no doubt, because Vladimir is an astonishing person. Firstly, he's incredibly talented. But talent is like water. It can light turgid in a bog, or it can drive a turbine. This is an incredibly powerful turbine. It gives off so much energy. And that energy drives that talent. It's an energy that somehow electrifies all the people around him. But he works, and the bulk of his time he doesn't hang out with us. So just imagine that entire whirlwind, all that energy is focused on those tiny miniatures. You get this incredible concentration. You just have to pick it up and you get goosebumps. As far as military historical reconstruction is concerned, I got into that when I was 15 years old. Right back when we were still kids. It wasn't called military historical reenactment back then, of course. It is now, thanks to Oleg Sokolov. But back then, no. It had a different name. He was a student at the Polytechnic. Sokolov. And we were layabout youngsters, so to speak. We didn't have anything to do, just lounging about on the back staircase with a guitar, as it were, sipping beers from a can, like in the song. That's just the way it was. And he came along all disheveled. He said something to us. How can you do this? And somehow he got us hooked. And it was with him that all this military historical reconstruction began. Basically, what he did was he showed us the uniform, a book with this beautiful uniform. He showed us books that were unique back then. In the Soviet Union in those days, it wasn't just that you couldn't get your hands on those books. We'd never even seen them. Bearing in mind that it was very close to what we're doing anyway, the little soldiers, of course we got into it even more. So back then, being the first imperialists, the first military historical reenactors, we sewed ourselves uniforms. Some rented them from theatres, some sewed them, and we started going out in them, promoting the French army, as it were. Strange as it may seem, because promoting the Russians was scary, while if it was the French army, people thought we were extras from a film. So it was easy for us to go around in French uniforms so that everyone would think we were shooting a film about the French. Now it's an enormous movement with thousands of groups. And that's just the Napoleonic era. And there are lots of different eras. There's 1812 and 1814, the First World War, the Second World War, the Middle Ages, the teapots, as we call them. That's because the first helmets were made out of Soviet aluminium teapots. That's why we call them teapots. And that's what they're called to this day. We always get a good reception. It doesn't matter what the era. Because I'm like a veteran. Go on, let them have some tea, something like that. Because we get all kinds of people here. I'm more into the Napoleonic period, of course. That was the last beautiful era, after all, and the last era of chivalry. Men need some kind of enthusiasm. I think that reenactment is a male thing. They like it. They prepare for it. As the singer Vysotsky put it, it's better to have some sort of hobby than to be into vodka or have a cold. What I've always liked about him is that he's always has some kind of infatuation. From the time we first met, he's always burned with these ideas. He did yoga. He'd sit underwater, increase the time he could stay underwater. He's someone who gets very passionate about things. He gets fascinated. In December of 2012, in a limited edition, The book Strange People, written by Vladimir Nuzhdin and Sergei Bielich, a participant in the reenactment movement, was published. The presentation was held at the Russian Geographical Society, in a hall where key scientists and explorers of the past had given talks. The book was a collection of short stories and essays on the reenactment and reconstruction movement, stories that a group of friends would tell of an evening over a cup of tea. With regard to the book, I'd long ago thought about how to do a book like this. It's just that I couldn't find an author for the text who could write beautifully, who could set it all out. It had to be someone from our environment. You can just imagine what someone who wasn't involved in all this would write. I wanted to publish a funny book, an unusual one, with good stories, with tales. And not to get too deep into the buttons or the uniforms, into all the attributes. This is a book for everyone. And not just for the reenactors themselves. I wanted it to be accessible for everyone. And finally I got lucky. I went with this guy to Austerlitz to celebrate the 200th anniversary. And I met him on the bus over there. A young guy who turned out to be very good at setting all this out. He speaks poorly, but he writes wonderfully. It's amazing. I don't speak too badly, but I write terribly. Of course I did these short stories, but basically it was me just trying out my hand at writing. We first met with Vladimir Nuzhdin a long time ago, 10 years ago, I think. And for all of those 10 years, we've been in close contact, and he's told me a huge amount of stories. Firstly, how he got involved in this, and how he got obsessed with it, and so on. He told me a million stories, and then he asked me. He gave me paper, gave me some pencils and pens, and then he told me to sit down and write. He said, we won't be leaving here until you've written a book about what we both know. We didn't want to write a history of reenactment in Russia or anything along those lines. We wanted to totally dedicate it to the people that we know and that we love. The funny situations that crop up, or the tragic situations, or the dramatic ones. For the most part, they're funny, though. It's called Strange People because there's no way you can call these people normal. They've all got certain peculiarities, like all of us, I suppose. Doing a book isn't like engraving a soldier. As we're reenactors, and bearing in mind that Sergei is a fairly talented young man, God gave me the hands to do everything by hand. So we decided that the book should be out of the ordinary, that it shouldn't be a standard book. There are already so many of these standard books with a load of adverts on the back page. First of all, we decided to get rid of any adverts and not make any compromises with anyone. Secondly, we decided to put a lot of work done by hand into the book. So that the entire print run, if we were to print 1,000 copies, say, would have some work done by hand in it. We decided to stamp a number each issue. We made stamps. We decided to stamp the name of the book too, and then to write each number. There's the 300th book of a 1,000 book print run, for example, and up to the 200th copy, we decided that I would create some kind of picture from a bronze engraving board. An engraving of something from the text. Then we'd roll it out on the press. I've got a little press at home. I'd press it out, and into the first 10 we'd glue this engraving. So, as we were told by the bibliophiles, the book would immediately become a rarity. Our German friends put it very well. You know, Marina, we really love Vladimir. We love it when you come to stay with us. It's a real delight. We have 10 days of total joy, but we could never live with him for 30 years like you have. Because he's always in a good mood. And he's always got these ideas. He's forever on the move. It's interesting with him. I think that any person in any profession and in their art, anywhere, if they're really passionate about it, if they put everything into their work or their hobby or their art, then it stimulates the workings of all their vital organs. I think that life needn't be physical. It can be in the fullness of emotions. If that's the case, then it's clear and beautiful. And a person looks healthier and more beautiful as a result. People who are continually involved in their work, who are continually on the go, as it were, who keep their brains on the go, they live longer and keep old age off longer. They keep dementia off, to use the medical term, or Alzheimer's. Those who keep their brains switched on in life keep their wits about them. They really do look better. There's a concept, a life's work. This doesn't always mean an activity that brings an income or satisfaction. It's not what we like to do, it's what we're capable of doing. A life's work is to develop talent, not for oneself, but for others. It is his works that are most eloquent on the subject of the man and artist Vladimir Nuzhdin. After all, the artist puts his soul into each of them.